Hanging out with former DB Ahmad Brooks, who played in the Texas OU game 4 times, and this is one of our favorite drills. Wags, our producer, calls it the orange ball drill, and why not? But it's not just the orange ball. Let's go through every step and what Manny Diaz, as you see there with the black shirt, what he's trying to teach here.
Kendall Thompson here, number 35. You'll see him. He's practicing shrugging off of a block. And then the next thing you have is somebody trying to hit those knees at either a fullback or somebody trying to go lower on you. You want to make sure you press that off. And then it's running the lane. You see them going over the dummies there. Watch their eyes, because what they're teaching you there as you're going over the dummies is to keep your eyes up. All the meanwhile, look at his eyes here.
So you're not looking at the dummies.
Constantly on the running back, because what that allows you to do is make plays and react faster. Chet Moss here getting a go at it, the freshman.
Back at linebacker.
Indeed. And so I think for young players,
what about
this really
youngster?
helps.
Are you impressed with Steve Edmond? There's been a lot of talk. I know with Texas fans, sometimes they can get a little too jumpy with, you know, a guy makes a couple plays on special teams. Do you think he's ready to play linebacker here?
He's explosive.
Yeah.
And you see a guy, when you look at him, a player that you never know if sometimes the recruiting hype matches up with the talent that actually comes in.
Never know.
But there are a few times that we've seen him even in practice.
Yeah.
That this young man can play football, and you just hope that he continues to work. That's always the challenge here is, like I said, man, getting complacent. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you are constantly listening to Manny Diaz, constantly listening to the older guys around you like Keenan Robinson who've gone before you. If you can do that, it really does allow you to be more prepared when your time does come.
All right, let's say you're still a senior at Abilene. You're still running for 400 yards a game as the option quarterback and just destroying, breaking ankles left and right. But you know you're probably going to be a DB at the next level. You're getting D1 rides. Manny Diaz is recruiting you. Are you attracted to his defense?
Yeah, I mean, so much so that you're begging him to get a piece of what he's got going on right here. It just highlights, much like our offense, it highlights everything that's good about your talent. If you're good at covering, they're going to put you in press and man-to-man and say, shut this guy down. If you're the best middle field of the safety, like a guy like Blake Gideon, they're going to put you in the best places to do what you do well. All the meanwhile, this defense dictates tempo. I love that about it. They don't sit back and wait for the offense.
Right.
They respond by making sure that they're on top of their A game, and it's worked out well for them thus far.
It has. You look at the tackle leaders this season, Emmanuel Acho picking up where he left off, 41 tackles. He's been all over the field. Kenny Vaccaro, some people think he may be the most active and best player on this defense. He has 31 tackles. Really, it's the linebackers. Keenan Robinson and Jordan Hicks cleaning stuff up. Carrington Bindum and Blake Gideon have been very sure tacklers, and saw Bindum in the BYU game make a couple, I mean, wide open field tackles where no one was around him, and it would have been, if not 6, certainly a big game for the Cougars. But Bindum and the secondary guys have come up and play. Ahmad, I want to ask you, you played in the tight end, you played in the NFL. Who is the best tackler on this football team?
That's a tough one. You know, but I think when you look at it, Emmanuel Acho has been very consistent. I call this guy the chief of consistency in this group, because he's not the one that's most athletic, but he's here at the University of Texas, and he is a fine athlete, and he tackles well.
Well, take a look at the tight ends here for Texas. Blaine Irby still really trying to have that breakout game. He's been blocking very well, something that you brought up. Irby, during all that time, really 2.5 years, where he was rehabbing his knee and trying to get everything back, he was lifting a lot of weights, and it shows. But they've got some good young players here. DJ Grant continues to get open. We saw David Ash hit him with some nice touch. Is Grant one of those guys, and you've seen it with tight ends, some guys just get open? Is he one of those guys?
He is. And
what makes him that way?
Well, a part of it is his speed. You have to defend against that. He can stretch the field. Once he gets in those seams on those hash marks, when you're looking at a football field, that is where he becomes special. And the more that he begins to understand when to do that, not how to do it, because he can already do that.
Right.
He's going to become more deadly.
Well, we'll see if he can work the middle of the field against this Oklahoma defense. Well, all the tight ends that have been thrown into this new Brian Harsin, Major Applewhite offense, Dominic Jones, 27 receiving yards. Barrett Matthews even has 3. DJ Grant with 101 yards. Irby still yet to get a catch, waiting to get off get off the schneid. You know that first one's got to be tough. It's like a pick. You've always talked about that. Once you get one, you feel like, you know, they're going to come in bunches.
It's coming, and at some point, you know it is. But I think for Blaine Irby, this is a young man that he's seen a lot, and he's gone through a lot here at Texas. And much like Fozzie Whitaker, these guys have fought off injury. They're great examples for these younger guys to look up to. And Blaine Irby will be ready. I know he had a drop in the first game. He should have had his first catch, and that's a play for a guy that's been around and so experienced. He looks at that the next week, and he's down. But he's also understanding that he's got to get back up and be ready for his next opportunity. And much like playing cornerback, having that short memory when you have those bad plays goes for every football player. And I'm waiting for Blaine Irby because it's a great story for him to, of course, get that first catch and hopefully even get in the end zone. You'd like to see that be a great example for young kids everywhere.
When you study the Oklahoma defense and what Venables, and you know Stoops still has his fingerprints on there, when you take a look at them, do you think the Texas tight ends could have a chance to have a good game and really get some balls?
You think about it, yes. And for a number of reasons. I think our tight ends are athletic. I think that they can beat you in one man-to-man coverage. And that's no disrespect to the other side, because this is a game where athleticism usually cancels out because it's so good and it's pulled from this Texas pull here. But, yes, they can. And it's just a matter of, like I said, knowing when to do it, being able to convert those routes if it's a hot route, being prepared for Case McCoy or David Ash to dump it into you because the linebackers are blitzing, and that is the closest option. Having that type of awareness, I think, can help this group excel on Saturday. And I think with the way that Brian Harsin and Major use their tight ends, they'll have their shot.
You know, we've seen so many shifts with the tight ends. It seems like the Texas coaches, Harsin calling plays and Diaz on the other side, there's just a lot more of a cat and mouse game. We saw defensively where Emmanuel Acho a couple times audibled after the offense had audibled. You pointed that out watching the game, and they were blitzing 7, and now they're dropping 8. You know, and it seems to be a real back-and-forth game offensively with all the tight ends moving around, all the shifts, the Tom Landry pre-snap, if you will, with all this stuff going around. How difficult is that on the defense timing-wise?
Well, you hope that the reps that you have, like they're getting right now in practice, prepare you. Your film study has to be big because quarterbacks and offenses are always going to tip you off as to when the ball is going to be snapped. And it has to be that way in order for them to get it. And that's why hard snaps, you don't try them a whole lot. You try them in crucial situations because typically you're going to get a beat on when that ball is being snapped, and you have to know that when you're bringing the blitzes. I thought Kenny Vaccaro did an excellent job of timing out a blitz that led to a sack on a big 4th down versus Iowa State. And you've even seen Emmanuel Acho get in the right gaps. It's all about timing, and you have to know your responsibility because there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. You have to stay focused and into the game.
I haven't asked you. We were watching that game together, and I haven't asked you if the Vaccaro blitz, if that was a delayed blitz, because usually in college it's tipped off where the timing's just not going to be perfect, but it was. You're exactly right. He timed that like a all-pro safety would. You take a look at the Texas defensive line. Bo Davis in the safari hat in his first year. This would be his first Texas OU game as Manny Diaz, Darrell Wyatt we showed you earlier, Stacy Searles, a lot of these guys first time ever to experience just the magic of Texas OU. Oh, the Texas defensive ends, we had a lot of talk last week about how they're not getting sacks, still getting pressure and still doing their job. Steele Jantz, we talked about it, and he did give them some opportunities, extending plays, and also, you know, trying to make some plays where the Texas defense was able to get after him. Defensive line looked pretty good against Iowa State.
They were solid, and I think it was their best, perhaps, all-around performance, with the exception of perhaps the interior running game. But I think this defense also lends itself to that. Why? Because they want to keep everything in the middle. They don't want you to hit the edges. That's why they contain the way that they do and get players on the outside where it gives everybody a shot to tackle the man. And so they've done a nice job of that, and you're right. For this defensive line, getting that cookie, that quarterback sack, if you will, you know, getting your hands in that cookie jar on offense and being able to secure that is fantastic for their confidence. But also it allows you to continue to work, and it shows you that your hard work does pay off and you can get a chance. This is a big one. You get a sack in this game,
yeah,
you'll never forget it. And
Brian Arakpo really had his coming out party against OU.
He did. And why? Because the stage is so big.
Right.
And it was one of the reasons why he went 13th overall also, believe me. And he stepped up in big games. That too. He is good.
But, you know, he got after Bradford in this game a couple times, and actually, you know, really the 08 game really got after Bradford. But he got after Bradford in the pros this last Sunday, too. Sacked him 2.5 times. Sam's got to be thinking, man, I don't want to see Brian Arakpo anymore. See if that
tired
was
of that guy.
That was a sign of things to come for Texas this Saturday. The defensive line did give up some runs inside. Any quick reason why they've been giving runs up the middle? Is that, like you said, that's something they're trying to force even?
Hesitation at times is what I see.
Hesitation. Desmond Jackson, number 99, the youngster. Texas is going to need some depth against Oklahoma. Expect to see a couple of these guys rotate in. Texas has won 4 national championships. If they beat OU this Saturday, they could be on their way to their 5th. Texas practice continues after this.